Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out 7 ways British and American drinking culture is very different.
What if I told you that the average Brit drinks less than the average American, but is twice as likely to end up in the hospital? Or that the United States, land of the 21-year-old drinking age and strict open container laws, is home to some of the world's wildest binge drinking.
Y'all be sure to go to Girlcon London and like and subscribe. The average Brit drinks less than the average American, but is twice as likely to go to the hospital. Y'all, calm down. It's those post-pub trips home. That's what it is. Americans are drinking at home or in the car on the way home. But Brits are roaming the streets, causing all kinds of ruckus and antics on the sidewalk. I've seen the videos. I know what's going on over there.
Or that the United States, land of the 21-year-old drinking age and strict open container laws, is home to some of the world's wildest binge drinking.
The United States is home to some of the world's wildest binge drinking. I believe that. I went to college. Yo, I've seen it. I've done it. I regret it. Some of it.
This is the story of UK versus USA drinking culture, and it's a lot more complicated than you might expect.
Ooh.
Alcohol has been part of human civilization for millennia, but in Britain and America, it took on special significance early. In medieval England, alehouses were the heart of every village. By the 1500s, there were over 24,000 alehouses in England,
Wow.
one for every 200 people.
One for every 200 people. Wow. Yo, I've seen the British pub videos. We've talked about it on this channel. You know what I'm gonna say. You know. The pub in Britain is the center of the town. Or it used to be. It used to be. It wasn't just a place to drink. It was also usually an inn, so people from out of town could stay there at the pub. It was also like the only place really to get a meal if you didn't live there and have your own kitchen and stuff. It was also a meeting place for the locals. And I'm not just talking about after work. I'm talking about like official business of the city, of the country, was done in these pubs. Military groups, whatever you call them, would meet at the pub and go over plans for battles or whatever. Like right there at the pub, drinking. And usually when a town was first being built, the pub was the first thing made. It was the first structure. That's how central drinking is to British culture. But I have a feeling it's probably similar in America. I don't really know, but I feel like all the media you see about the Wild West, there's always a saloon. All the best scenes in an old Western happen in a saloon, right? So I feel like we got that too. I don't know. What you gonna say? 24,000 alehouses in England. 24,000.
Beer was actually safer than water, and everyone drank it. Men, women, and children. By the 16th century, the English pub, short for public house, had emerged as a uniquely British institution.
Hang on. Like, so people would drink beer instead of water because the water was unsafe. But how? Like, beer makes you pee a lot. It's I forgot the word for it, but it makes you pee. It dehydrates you, right? Like soda or coffee or tea. So how are people... Maybe people back then were just like, once they started drinking beer all day, they're kind of killing themselves. Maybe that was like the root of a lot of the death. Maybe they weren't drinking enough water. All the water was dirty, y'all. They didn't have a choice to get drunk.
Pubs were open to all, regardless of class, and it became the unofficial town hall of the nation.
Right.
The rituals of the pub, like buying rounds, sharing stories, became rituals of British life. Across the Atlantic, colonial America inherited these traditions. Taverns were the centers of early American towns, and the American Revolution was basically plotted in those taverns. By 1776, there were more than 2,000 taverns in the 13 colonies, one for every 150 colonists. But this
Per capita, that's more than in Britain. Or England, I should say. There's a difference, y'all. There's a difference. One for every 150 colonists. But what about the slaves? Are they being counted? I don't think so. Were slaves ever given alcohol? I know this is a touchy subject, but I just want to ask ChatGPT. Like, what's the deal with American slaves and alcohol? Did slaves in America ever have alcohol? I mean, I'm sure some of them did, but I wonder if it was like a normal allotment or something. Yes, enslaved people in America did have access to alcohol at times, but it was tightly controlled, inconsistent, and often used as a tool of manipulation rather than a privilege. Evil. Special occasions. Okay. Christmas and New Year's, harvest festivals, weddings, or funerals within the enslaved community. Okay. This wasn't generosity. It was often used as to create the illusion of benevolence, maintain control through reward systems, discourage rebellion during holidays by encouraging distraction and intoxication. Okay. Yeah, let's get off this subject. I don't like that. But moving on.
The seeds of difference were already there. America was a new country, shaped by waves of immigration, religious revival, and a restless search for identity. The tavern was a place of possibility and danger. It was a space for freedom, but also a space for disorder. In the 19th century, the two cultures began to diverge. In Britain, the pub survived as a fixture of daily life, even as the temperance movement gained ground. The British government saw the pub as a necessary social valve. It was a place to let off steam, to build community, and to keep the peace. Licensing laws regulated opening hours and alcohol strength, but the pub endured. In America, the temperance movement became a crusade. By 1830, Americans were drinking an average of 7 gallons of pure alcohol per person per year, 3 times today's rate.
How many gallons? 7 gallons of pure alcohol a year. How much is that a month? That's 0.583 to infinity gallons a month. So half a gallon. We'll say a little over half a gallon a month. I don't know this alcohol percentage is like half a gallon a month of pure alcohol. Well, if like a beer is 5%, I guess you would have to have 20 beers? I don't know if that works out right. So that would be 5 beers a week. That's like a beer a day. Okay. For every person. Every person. I'm not sure about the math of alcohol, but that seems like a lot, but doable. My math is way off, I know. Let's move on.
Pure alcohol per person per year, 3 times today's rate. Fueled by evangelical Christianity and social reformers, temperance activists saw alcohol as a threat to the nation's soul. By 1919, their movement had become powerful enough to pass Prohibition, the 18th Amendment, which banned the manufacture, sale, and transport of alcohol nationwide. Prohibition changed everything in America.
Yeah.
It drove drinking underground, gave rise to speakeasies and organized crime, and turned alcohol into a symbol of rebellion. When Prohibition was repealed in 1933, these ideas remained. America's relationship
Okay, hang on. So, in the early 20th century, wait, she said it was late 1800s? 1830, okay. Yeah, so we'll say like 1800s into 1900s. The British government said, okay, like the pub was a crucial part of society, and they saw that, even though there was a huge temperance movement, the government was like, no, like, we've been around a while, we've seen some shit, and we need to let some people have a little alcohol. Like, some people really need it, and now's not the time to just cut it off. Like, that makes things worse. But in America, people were so excited about Prohibition that they banned alcohol. I mean, I have heard that before Prohibition, it was ruining families. Men would have, jobs at the factory or wherever, and then after work, they would just go to the bar and drink all their money away. And it was causing problems for a lot of families. So, instead of helping these guys not be alcoholics, I guess there was really no infrastructure for like mental health or substance abuse. Of course there wasn't. Like, this is 1800s. Of course it wasn't. So it was ruining families. So they just cut it off. But that created the whole bootlegger thing. The black market got all into it. Gangsters, a lot of fodder for some great stories and some great movies. Al Capone. Distilleries in the Appalachian Mountains. Rum running. Oh, that's so interesting how that affects so much stuff. Because I know bootleggers who used to transport alcohol would need to outrun the cops, so they started hot rodding their cars, and that became the whole American hot rod thing. subculture. And also, like, private distilleries became a thing. Moonshine. Heard of moonshine? You can't like, see, the Brits knew what a mess Prohibition would cause. Americans were like, no, we got a dream. This is going to be a utopia. No alcohol utopia. Brits were like, measured. Let's regulate it. Interesting approaches. Okay.
Drinking an average of 7 gallons of pure alcohol per person per year, 3 times today's rate. Fueled by evangelical Christianity and social reformers, temperance activists saw alcohol as a threat to the nation's soul. By 1919, their movement had become powerful enough to pass Prohibition, the 18th Amendment, which banned the manufacture, sale, and transport of alcohol nationwide. Prohibition changed everything in America. It drove drinking underground, gave rise to speakeasies and organized crime, and turned alcohol into a symbol of rebellion. When Prohibition was repealed in 1933, these ideas remained. America's relationship with alcohol would always be shaped by suspicion, regulation, and a sense of moral ambiguity. Britain, by contrast, never fully embraced temperance. Wartime restrictions did shorten pub hours and watered down beer, but the pub remained a place of community and continuity. The British government saw the dangers of alcohol, but also its social value. The difference between British and American drinking culture is nowhere clearer than in the spaces where people drink. The British pub is like a public living room. There are over 47,000 pubs in the UK today, though this is down from 60,000 in the 1980s. Each year, about 1,000 more close their doors. The pub is intergenerational. Children are welcome until a certain hour, and the regulars span every age. The landlord or landlady can be a community figure, part host, part referee, part therapist. And pubs are deeply local. Some are centuries old with names and signs that recall battles, kings, or local legends. The pub is where you go to be a part of something, to see and to be seen and to belong. In America, the bar is a different animal. There are over 70,000 bars and nightclubs in the US, but the real growth is in breweries. The bar is often more transactional and more individualistic. You order at the bar, you tip the bartender, you might sit alone or with a few friends. The focus is often on the drink itself, craft beer, bourbon, or cocktails, rather than the space and community it provides. American bars are also shaped by geography and mobility. The car, the highway, the vastness of the country means that drinking is often private or semi-private rather than public. The red Solo cup is a symbol of this. It's portable, disposable, and anonymous. The tailgate, the backyard barbecue, the college party, these are where Americans drink. And perhaps the starkest difference is...
Interesting. I like how she said the British pub is like a living room. Because it is like someone's home. Even the way it looks, just like there's like chairs around and there's a fireplace over there and there's stuff on the walls and it's like a living room, kitchen table, kids come. It's like a family thing. But in America, the bars are like, I picture them more like nightclubs. It is like the underbelly of society usually. It has that kind of slightly dark feeling. There aren't any kids. Kids are not allowed. So I think anywhere that it's adult only has that kind of vibe. Something I never realized, though, that I think is really interesting that she brought up is that the American bar is like, there's more about the drink, the cocktail. There's a brewery, it's about the beverage, or, maybe that bartender has a specific drink that it's famous for. Americans probably more drink at backyard barbecues, tailgating before a football game, hanging out at someone's home more than at a bar. Just feels like a more common thing. Like those settings in America are more like a British pub than an American bar is, or tavern, whatever they're called. She was about to say the starkest difference, so let's...
College party. These are where Americans drink.
College party.
And perhaps the starkest difference is the
Yo,
law.
oh my God, I'm just thinking college party. I think most of the drinking I've ever done has been at a college party, not at a bar.
In Britain, the legal drinking age is 18, and it's not unusual for teenagers to have had their first pint with their parents at home or at a pub. Alcohol is sold in supermarkets, corner shops, and petrol stations very easily. Pubs close around 11 p.m., though this has relaxed in recent years, and there are few restrictions on where you can drink. Open container laws are rare, and drinking in public is generally accepted. In America, the legal drinking age is 21, the highest in the developed world. This is a legacy of the 1984 National Minimum Drinking Age Act, which tied federal highway funds to states raising the age to 21. The result is a culture of strict ID checks, fake IDs, and a thriving underground drinking scene among teenagers and college students. Open container laws prohibit drinking in public spaces in most cities, and alcohol is often sold only in licensed stores and in some states, not on Sundays. These laws shape attitudes. In Britain, drinking is normalized, integrated into daily life. In America, drinking is often seen as a rite of passage, a forbidden fruit, and something that has to be done in secret. This creates a paradox. American teenagers drink less often than their British counterparts, but when they do, they're more likely to binge. Binge drinking is a term that means different things in different places. In the UK, it's often associated with things like hen parties or lads' night out. In the US, binge drinking is most closely associated with college life, fraternity parties, and spring break. According to the CDC, 1 in 6 American adults binge drinks about 4 times a month, consuming an average of 7 drinks per binge. Among college students, 33% report binge drinking in the past month. Binge drinking accounts for more than half of the 95,000 alcohol-related deaths in the...
Hang on. 7 drinks. Phew, that's a lot. I think. 7. There was a time when I could do that. But yeah, I'm realizing how typical my relationship with alcohol is. In college, that was what you did. I will say, though, that when I turned 18, the drinking age in New Orleans was 18. My parents took me to New Orleans and gave me alcohol for the first time. Which was really weird. The normalization of drinking in the UK is what I'm surprised about the most, because there's so much fear around alcohol when you're, not of age. Cops and, getting a DUI or something like it. Like, oh, God. It's such an issue. I don't know for sure, but it feels like if the drinking age in America was lower, like 18 or 16 even, like if it was more normalized, that there would be less debauchery around it. Like kids wouldn't just binge as often and then drive, like they would be eased into their adult responsibilities. Oh wow, this is kind of mind-blowing actually.
Among college students, 33% report binge drinking in the past month. Binge drinking accounts for more than half of the 95,000 alcohol-related deaths in the US each year. In the United Kingdom, among 16 to 24-year-olds, 38% of men and 27% of women binge drink at least once a week. Hospital admissions for alcohol-specific conditions in England reached 358,000 in 2022, a 19% increase over the previous decade. In Britain, binge drinking is often a public social activity. Nights out in city centers, especially on weekends, are marked by groups moving from pub to pub, drinking quickly and often ending the night with a takeaway meal. The lad culture of the 1990s and 2000s, immortalized in TV shows like Men Behaving Badly, celebrated heavy drinking as a form of bonding and rebellion. In America, binge drinking again is more likely to be private or semi-private. College parties, tailgates, house parties. It's the fraternity party, the spring break trip, the 21st birthday. These are American rites of passage, often marked by excess drinking. And what's the cost? In the United States, binge drinking costs the US economy $249 billion per year in lost productivity, healthcare, and criminal justice costs. Nearly 1 in 4 adults admit to driving after drinking too much at least once in the past year. In the United Kingdom, alcohol is responsible for 7,500 deaths per year in England alone. The NHS spends £3.5 billion annually treating alcohol-related harm. British police report that 40% of violent crimes are alcohol-related, but the response is different. In Britain, public health campaigns focus on moderation, on changing social norms, on promoting alternatives like dry January. In America, the response is more likely to be legal, stricter enforcement, zero-tolerance policies, and a focus on individual responsibility. Now let's talk about the rituals surrounding drinking.
Yeah, the repercussion, yeah. The government involvement, so she's saying in the UK there's more, the government involvement in the drinking culture is more like preaching moderation, like dry January. In America, it's legal. We have like don't drink and drive commercials and things like that. I don't know how effective those are. I feel like most people who do that feel like that does not affect them at all, and they're like not a part of that demographic who needs to worry about it. Especially when you're young, I think kids feel like they're invincible, and it's not going to happen to them. She say in America, the U.S. economy spends $249 billion, and the UK was $3.5 billion. Oh, that's just the NHS treating alcohol-related harm. So that's probably just one little bit of what the American statistic said. But still, $3.5 billion compared to $249 billion. It's a big difference. More people, like, more people.
British police report that 40% of violent crimes are alcohol-related, but the response is different. In Britain, public health campaigns focus on moderation, on changing social norms, on promoting alternatives like dry January. In America, the response is more likely to be legal, stricter enforcement, zero-tolerance policies, and a focus on individual responsibility. Now let's talk about the rituals surrounding drinking, because British drinking culture is built on the ritual of the round. One person buys drinks for the group, and the responsibility rotates. This creates a sense of obligation, of belonging, and of mutual care.
I love the idea of that, but if you're out with like 10 people, for it to be fair, you gotta have 10 drinks.
It also means that drinking is social, more paced, and communal. The pub quiz, the darts match, the sing-along, these are rituals that bind people together when they drink. In America, the ritual is happy hour. Discounted drinks after work, a chance to unwind, to network, to escape the grind.
Yeah.
The focus is on the individual. What you order, how much you tip, how you manage your own consumption, it's all up to you. American bars are more likely to have TVs, loud music, and a faster pace.
Right.
And moderation also means different.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I worked at a recording studio called Right Track Recording in New York City at 168 West 48th Street, I never felt more like a family with a group of coworkers as I did with them, because a lot of times at 5 o'clock we would all go to the bar and wait for the subway traffic to die down before going home. And so we would often, have a few drinks with each other, and it was so much fun. It really did bind us together. And I feel like that experience is probably more like a British pub. Bars in the States do usually have TVs and loud music, and I've done some live sound for some bands and things like that, live performances, and the club owner or venue owner usually wants you to keep the volume of the band pretty loud, because if people can't hear each other talk, then they're drinking, and that makes them sell more drinks, make more money.
Things. In Britain, moderate drinking might mean several pints over an evening, spread out with conversation and food. In America, moderation is often measured in units, in abstinence days, in self-control. The legacy of temperance lingers in the language. Responsible drinking, alcohol-free. Now, drinking in Britain has historically been male-dominated, but this has changed. Women now make up nearly half of pub goers, and the rise of the gastropub has made pubs more family-friendly than ever. Still, there are old man pubs, student pubs, posh pubs, each with their own codes and clientele. In America, bars have always been more mixed, but also more segregated by age, race, and class. The cocktail lounge was a space for women in the 1920s, the dive bar, a refuge for working men, the college bar, a rite of passage for students. The craft beer revolution has brought new diversity, but also new forms of exclusivity. Now, both cultures are also shaped by drinking stereotypes. The Brits are seen as heavy drinkers, stoic in the face of hangovers, masters of what they call a session. The American is the frat boy with a keg, the cowboy with his whiskey, or the suburban dad with a six-pack. But the reality is more complex. British drinking is actually declining. Per capita alcohol consumption has fallen by 16% since the early 2000s. Young people are actually drinking less, and dry January is now a national phenomenon. In America, drinking is rising among older adults, women, and minorities, even
really?
as teen drinking falls. Now let's talk about the rituals of drinking and
Yeah, interesting. I didn't realize I fall into this as well, but I do. I barely ever have alcohol anymore. I'm not getting any younger. And now, one or two drinks, it's fun, but it interrupts my sleep and it interrupts my bowel movements. Just so you know. It's an assault to the system. The aftermath isn't really worth it a lot of the time. Sometimes it is.
Now let's talk about the rituals of drinking and celebration, because alcohol is woven into the celebrations of both cultures. In Britain, the pub is the place for every milestone. Birthdays, weddings, funerals, retirements. In America, it's about the toast, the shot, the champagne at New Year's, or the beer at the ball game. The British wake, for instance, is a communal affair with stories, laughter, and pints raised to the departed. The American funeral is often dry, with alcohol reserved for the reception or the private home. The British wedding is a marathon of drinking. The American wedding is more likely to have an open bar or a signature cocktail, but also a last call. And as I've mentioned, the legacy of Prohibition still shapes American drinking culture. Many states have blue laws that restrict alcohol sales on Sundays. Some counties are still dry, banning alcohol altogether. Open container laws are strictly enforced in most cities, and drunk driving laws are harsh. The designated driver is a staple of American social life. In Britain, regulation...
Interesting. I didn't really notice that Americans don't drink at funerals, but we do at weddings. But Brits do also drink at weddings, but also at funerals. It would be a strange thing to go to a funeral and there be alcohol, unless it's like a communion or thing or something. And when I was growing up, I grew up in a dry county. They would still allow beer and wine, which was sold at the grocery store, but no hard alcohol, no hard liquor. Across the county line, there was a liquor store, like right across on the other side of the line. It was a liquor store. So if you lived in the county I grew up in, you had to go all the way out to another county to get alcohol. Seems like such a weird thing now.
Open container laws are strictly enforced in most cities, and drunk driving laws are harsh. The designated driver is a staple of American social life. In Britain, regulation is lighter. Pubs are licensed, but alcohol is widely available. Drunk driving is punished, but the culture of walking to the pub or taking public transport makes it less central. The British approach is more about managing risk rather than enforcing abstinence. Now that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you learned something new. As always, leave your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
The British way is more about minimizing risk, while the American way is about emphasizing abstinence. It'll be interesting to see how this whole drinking culture develops further, because less young people are drinking, and I know there's a trend for the pubs closing. I saw a video that said that was mostly a product of larger grocery stores like Aldi and the Walmartization of things, because those large stores can sell alcohol at a loss because they're still making the profit from the other products, so they can lower the price of alcohol, while a place like a pub, it makes most of its money from selling alcohol. So it's hard to compete with those large stores, so people would rather buy it at a grocery store and take it home, as opposed to going to a pub and paying for one drink the price that would buy them a whole pack at home. Right? The economy's not great. But y'all be sure to go visit your local pub. Be sure to go to Girl Gone London and Be sure to go to Girl Gone London and like and subscribe. I almost said like and expire. Don't expire. Don't do that. Well, y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see y'all next time. Later.